Hi, my name is Jolene Underwood. I am an emotional and mental health coach and a counselor in training. Today's topic is about prayer, and particularly praying when we feel very far from God, or we really want God to do something, but it kind of feels flat afterwards. It feels frustrating because maybe we feel like God isn't answering our prayers, or He doesn't hear us, or what we're asking for doesn't matter. We start to have these outcomes of prayer that we actually end up feeling worse or more burdened. I noticed today in someone who had sent out a prayer request, and the prayer request was simply, Lord, help us do this well, whatever it was. And I started thinking about what's underneath that prayer. That's a prayer that we say a lot. Lord, help me to respond well to friends. Let me help me to have courage to do something, and those types of things. Do well at whatever it is our job is, or something like that. However, underneath that are a lot of thoughts and feelings and vulnerable realities that sometimes we don't express. We don't acknowledge them to ourselves, maybe. We're not acknowledging them to others, probably, very likely. And we're not even acknowledging them to God. And here we have this gift of prayer, a way to connect and engage with the heart of our Father, the God who created us, the one who loves us and knows every bit about us, like our physical being, our emotional being, our mental being, our circumstances. And He wants to be with us. And guess what? Prayer is that gift of presence. It allows us the opportunity to experience His presence, to simply commune back and forth and recognize that His presence is always with us, but to actively engage with Him. And to remember that we're not on our own. Don't need to be making all these decisions just on our own. He's given us wisdom. He's given us intellect to use, and He's there. And He wants us to rely on the Holy Spirit. So in the simple prayer of God, help me do whatever well, what is underneath that? What are the thoughts and the feelings tied to it? For example, if what you want to do well is something that there's a fear that you're not going to do it well, or a fear that by not doing it well, it's going to have these outcomes. There may be feelings more than fear of like even remembrance of past events, worry and anxiety. And so what is the outcome of that? Do we feel more of God's presence? Or are we just saying, hey God, here's a way that I want you to fix my circumstances and fix me, but now I'm going to walk away? How does God actually work with us? He engages with us. He invites us into a process with Him. And so prayer isn't just about letting our requests be known, which we need to do. It's also about engaging the truth of our realities, our experiences, our thoughts and our feelings, our vulnerable situations, things that are deep inside of our hearts, bringing them to the surface and actually talking to God about them. And in that place, guess what? We get to experience more of God's heart for us. If we're not vulnerable in sharing the truth about what we're actually afraid of, or what we're angry about, what we're confused about, and the doubts that we have, how are we going to experience His peace in those moments? When I share those things with God really, and I'm honest with Him, like David was in the Psalms, pouring out his heart before the Lord, and I also choose to remind myself for my own sake, yes, and God, you are good, and I'm choosing to praise you and worship you. And I feel like I'm going to fall off a cliff right now. I feel like you're not going to catch me. I'm afraid that you're not going to catch me. I feel scared. I feel abandoned. Those two realities coexist. And then I bring that before the Lord in honest vulnerability. And then I get to experience Him. And when I practice hearing His voice back and just making space to hear from Him and not talking myself, but saying, Lord, I'm presenting this before you, and now I'm going to be quiet and listen to what you have to say. It may be about that. And it might be about something else, but I'm here and I'm ready and I want to listen. I hear Him remind me of verses I've studied before, or of aspects of His character. And a lot of times it's something that's very gentle and loving and nudging and reminding me of His presence with me. And that presence is literally putting courage into me. It is encouraging me to do the work that He calls me to. So I may be fearful, But then because I have that courage put into me, I'm also strengthened to do the work that I need to do with God to experience more fruitful outcomes. So I'm not laying that prayer and just expecting God to do all the work. I'm bringing it before Him honestly, vulnerably, connecting to His true heart for me, and then engaging in forward steps with Him. I pray that's helpful. I hope that that's helpful as you continue in prayer conversations back and forth with God. Look up the prayers of Jesus in the Psalms. I pulled up Psalm 118 from David. Out of my distress I called on the Lord. The Lord answered me and set me free. The Lord is on my side. I will not fear. When we experience God's presence, we are reminded that He is on our side and He is with us. Take care, friends.